Hi again, welcome back. Today we're going to finish the story of the tale of Peter Rabbit. When we left off last time, do you remember that Peter had just jumped out of the window? Mr. McGregor was after him, wasn't he? If you don't have your book, The Complete Adventures of Peter Rabbit, pause the recording and go get it, and then come back and we'll get started. Today we're going to start on page 16 and it looks like this. Okay. Peter sat down to rest. He was out of breath and trembling with fright, and he had not the least idea which way to go. Also, he was very damp with sitting in that can. Remember, the watering can that he hid in had water in it, didn't it? After a time, he began to wander about, going lippity-lippity, not very fast, and looking all around. He found a door in a wall, but it was locked, and there was no room for a fat little rabbit to squeeze underneath. An old mouse was running in and out over the stone doorstep, carrying peas and beans to her family in the wood. Peter asked her the way to the gate, but she had such a large pea in her mouth that she could not answer. She only shook her head at him. Peter began to cry. Look how sad he is. Then he tried to find his way straight across the garden, but he became more and more puzzled. Presently, he came to a pond where Mr. McGregor filled his water cans. A white cat was staring at some goldfish. She sat very, very still, but now and then the tip of her tail twitched as if it were alive. Peter thought it best to go away without speaking to her. He had heard about cats from his cousin, little Benjamin Bunny. He went back towards the tool shed, but suddenly, quite close to him, he heard the noise of a hoe. Scratch, scratch, scratch. Uh-oh, who do you think it is? Peter scuttered underneath the bushes, but presently, as nothing happened, he came out and climbed upon a wheelbarrow and peeped over. The first thing he saw was Mr. McGregor hoeing onions. His back was turned toward Peter, and beyond him was the gate. Can you see him? Looking at Mr. McGregor. Do you think he'll make it to the gate? Okay, turn the page. We're on page 18 now. Peter got down very quietly off the wheelbarrow and started running as fast as he could go along a straight walk behind some black currant bushes. Mr. McGregor caught sight of him at the corner, but Peter did not care. He slipped underneath the gate and was safe at last in the wood outside the garden. Mr. McGregor hung up the little jacket and the shoes for a scarecrow to frighten the blackbirds. Can you see that? Do you think Peter's mom is going to be happy about him losing his jacket? I'll bet she's not. Peter never stopped running or looked behind him till he got home to the big fir tree. He was so tired that he flopped down upon the nice soft sand on the floor of the rabbit hole and shut his eyes. His mother was busy cooking. She wondered what he had done with his clothes. It was the second little jacket and pair of shoes that Peter had lost in a fortnight. I am sorry to say that Peter was not feeling well during the evening. His mother put him to bed and made him some chamomile tea, and she gave a dose of it to Peter. 1 tablespoonful to be taken at bedtime. But Flopsy, Mopsy, and Cottontail had bread and milk and blackberries for supper. I'll bet he learned a lesson, didn't he? He didn't get to have yummy milk and bread and blackberry jam, did he? Blackberries. He had to have chamomile tea, and that doesn't taste very good. But he was disobedient, so then he didn't feel good, huh? What was your favorite part of the story? That's awesome. I'm so happy that Peter got away from Mr. McGregor. What would have happened if Mr. McGregor would have caught him? Do you remember what happened to Peter's dad? Mrs. McGregor made him into pie, huh? Rabbit pie. That would have been scary, right? Okay. That's the rest of our Peter Rabbit story. Next time we'll read the whole story again and we'll talk more about it. Okay? Thanks for joining me.